Do, 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 do. Are we really live? Do you think? Should we just continue talking as though we've been talking for an hour or so? Would anybody notice?
Oh, anybody notice?
Is that in the morning? I'd love to know.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Rayford Brown.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Lee Barrows.
And that was a delayed reaction there, Lee.
I had to stop and think. It's
Were
been a long
you
weekend.
trying to rehearse it or something?
It's been a long weekend.
Welcome to Live and Local Real
Yeah.
Talk Freedom 97 point. No, it's not. Welcome to Live and Local Real Talk. It's us. It's been a long time.
I told you, it's been a long
It
weekend for
has
you,
been a long
too.
weekend. Yep. And the weekend is continuing. And the remodeling project,
Remodeling is demolition.
pretty much, it's been demolition so far.
Good Lord.
Anyway, the household is getting changed in there. And it's awful to get up early in the morning like I do with the lights out for the most part.
And
Obviously,
stumble across the.
got one that comes on now because, you walk into a room and you don't recognize it. It's like waking up in a brand new place, like you're on vacation or something.
Right.
The first few days, you don't know where you are. And the worst thing is, where's the bathroom?
Where's the sink?
Where-
Where's the refrigerator?
Yeah.
Everything was moved.
I looked around this morning. I said, God, I got to get an egg out. Where's that thing? Where's that thing?
Have you
Where's that? Yeah, I've tripped over everything.
It's like where some of the plywood is off the floor, and you're scuffling along, and you hit that.
Well, there's nothing on the floors now except the subfloors. And the funny thing is, that same area is where I was putting down some of that subfloor back in 1957.
Wow.
Yeah, as a little low boy.
Oh.
What are y'all up to? Did you have a good weekend? Kelly?
Pretty good, yeah.
Kelly didn't do anything, did you?
I had the special needs dance on Friday night,
Uh-huh.
which it was safety night. So I want to shout out to Hollywood's Police Department, Hollywood's Fire Department, and Crime Stoppers.
Nice.
Chris Mann came with the Crime Stoppers car.
Chris
So
Marks.
Chris Marks. Yeah.
Well, we
Sees you
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, here we go. 97 and
yeah.
Chris Man.
But Chris Marks came
Chris
with
is a
that.
good guy.
Yeah.
Both of the
Yeah.
Chris's are good guys.
Oh,
They are.
absolutely.
And the kids were very happy. They got
Okay.
to go in the cars.
Oh, did
and-
they?
Yeah.
Anybody keep it? Want to keep it?
Well, my grandson,
He did.
in prom, didn't want to keep it.
Just
I love this
want to
kid.
take it around the block for a spin.
No, he gets in the back seat with his hands behind his back. I know. Not this kid.
There we go.
He said, but I'm under arrest. And I said, well,
Well,
what did you do? He said, I ran a stop sign. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I was worried what was about to come out of this kid's mouth. But we took pictures of it. I couldn't believe it. Yep, sure enough. Hands behind his back, everything.
Aw.
Yeah.
gracious.
Oh, I don't,
That's
this
cute.
kid's a
Is he
hoot.
planning for a career?
That's what my brother asked.
That's what you're
Yeah, so
concerned
he's like,
about.
looks like a natural with that. Like, I don't know. But he loved the fire truck. Like, he's
Oh,
very
all
into
kids do.
fire.
Come
And he
on.
climbed up and he asked a bunch of questions. And of course, leave it to him to notice that the fire truck was new. He even asked the fireman, he said, "It's a new fire truck, isn't it?" And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what would you do with the old one?" Yeah. And I'm
Can I
thinking,
have
don't get any ideas.
Can I have it?
Yeah.
Oh,
But it was a good
my
night. So I want to shout out. Hollywood always comes out and they do a very
When
good
they
job.
come out for
Yes.
an event, they turn out.
The
Yeah.
chief
Good.
is very impressive.
Oh,
That's where the dances are held the third Friday of every month. It is open to the public. and
really?
It's free. Hmm.
huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And next month will be Halloween. It's so cute. They wear the little costumes.
Oh.
It's adorable. Even the adults dress up.
So kids are free?
Yeah, kids are free. Food
So
is
how many
free.
can you get for free?
Free is free.
Yeah.
Well, you have to bring your own.
No.
Oh,
they
no,
are-
no,
You
no.
can't
You
get a kid. You have
can't-
to,
you
you
can't
have to
bring them
bring
home.
your own
Can't
kid.
bring them home. I need a
We'll
dishwasher
be
right
on
now.
Fox News.
Yeah.
If you
No. I
escort
need a
me
dishwasher
like
because our dishwasher
Yeah,
is
okay.
separate into another wall that's not connected right now.
These
Oh,
days, you
that's-
don't talk about
Oh.
getting kids for free.
Oh,
You don't have a dishwasher for real? One thing I despise is washing dishes.
I don't mind. I enjoyed it because I don't, it just takes me 3 minutes to wash all the dishes that I'll use in any given day.
Oh, I can't. I just hate. I mean, I do it because I can't stand them piled up in the sink.
My sister went in
Yeah.
when I sent her some pictures of the demolition project. Where's
Mhm.
the dishwasher?
Yeah,
First thing, you do have a
I
dishwasher.
gotta have a
I said,
dishwasher.
no, it's not working right now. I said, but we got a dishwasher.
Mhm.
We got a live-in coming in.
Oh,
Oh, that's not the same.
She didn't.
She didn't find that funny
I'm
either, did
sure
she?
she was thinking, oh
Uh-huh.
my God, what has he done
Yeah.
now?
Well,
I
at
got a
least-
live-in dishwasher coming in. I said, his name is Shockwave.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least you graduated from putting them on the floor and letting Shockwave. take
No, I
care of them.
haven't. And that's what I do. Put them on the floor, Shockwave. And you know what?
Finally.
There's a couple of advantages. Shockwave is the dog, by the way, folks. there's a couple of good advantages. First of all, it gets perfectly clean. There ain't no
Right.
crumbs on it whatsoever. It even cleans up the slime.
Hmm.
Oh, it leaves slime now.
And then I don't have to pay as much on the water bill. There's no dishwasher bill. There's no running water bill. And there's no dish soap to have to deal with.
Oh,
Why don't you just take them
Right.
outside and spray them down with a water hose?
That's there, but there I'm having to use water.
Oh, good. Well,
I can wait for the rain.
the rest of this week, you'll have opportunity the rest of this week. Going to be a rainy week.
Oh, well, okay.
Ah.
Got some rainy days and stuff coming up. too.
So anyway, let's talk about Friday night.
Oh,
Oh, I know what you're about to say.
That was an awesome football game. We were at the-
5-3 to 2-0.
yes, 53 to 20.
Mhm.
That's a
Some
beatdown.
awesome touchdowns.
It was, and Jacksonville. Well, it took 54 seconds for them to score first,
yes.
and they didn't receive. They kicked off.
yes.
Jacksonville won the toss, but they kicked off. They quite often choose to kick off at the beginning of the game.
Right.
That way, they receive at the second half.
That's right.
Now, so they kicked off, and J.H. Rose got the ball, and I
Mhm.
forgot how the turnover came. Was it on? It wasn't on downs. Yes, it was on downs, and they kicked.
Yes.
And the
I
first
believe you're
play
right.
that Jacksonville had, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first play. Could have been the second, but gone for the touchdown. And 54 seconds
I know,
into the
we
ball
were
game,
just
11
like-
minutes and 6 seconds left in the half.
We were all like, what just happened? What just
Whoa,
happened?
I missed something.
Oh, that one 64-yard touchdown by Damon June. Oh, that was beautiful.
Or, of course, as the
Textbook.
announcer was calling him, Damon Junes. Somebody, we got different names. It's spelled Demon, and
But
it's
it's
not
Damon.
Demon, it's Damon.
That's right.
That's what we've been told. So we call
Best
it.
play of the game, though, best
Mm.
touchdown was Jacksonville had the ball and they were running, of course, for the goal. And the runner had the ball tucked in under his arm and he was just running. And all the players were, J.H. Rose were running after him.
Mhm.
And then Jacksonville, his team players come up and were shielding him. And he quietly handed the ball to another player. and he took off running one direction. So did J.H. Rose, still chasing the one they thought had
Yeah.
the ball. And the other one just ran it running for a touchdown. I was like, that was the
That was
smoothest play
Sneaky smooth.
I had ever. But and did you notice that all the yellow flags were cut in half
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Big improvement on that.
Well, can I fess up?
Yes.
I had volunteered after the last ball game couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I had volunteered to take their uniforms for all the referees to the laundry,
Oh, I see.
and I sewed those hankies in their pockets. They couldn't pull them out. Wouldn't that be fun?
I was telling Robbie, I said, boy, there's not been many yellow flag. No, in fact, she brought it up.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said a yellow flag went out, I was
And
like,
then
you're
there
not
were
allowed
two
to
of
talk.
them on
Right.
one play. I forgot what he was.
Right.
Yeah,
But
you know,
it was a great ball game. Huge crowd there.
yeah.
Huge crowd.
In a close matchup, you don't want any of those flags out there. 'Cause
Right.
5 yards here or 15 yards there didn't mean anything Friday
Right.
night because they were way ahead of the game, of the whole game
Right.
at the beginning, from the get go. They were scoring touchdown after TD after TD after TD, and then second half comes along. They're running 33-7 was it, or something like that? It's either 33-7 or 33-14. Can't remember, but they were ahead. And then they came back, and I'm sure Chris Miller's listening. He'll fix me.
Yes.
I didn't say correct me. He'll just fix me.
Right.
And here in the South, we fix your problems. We
Right.
don't correct them. But in the second half, didn't score. I mean, 33 points in the first half and 20 points in the second half. You got a big lead. I understand that. It wasn't for the fans that they were doing this. It's to make sure they don't hurt. They don't get hurt.
Right.
Every time they're on the field, there's a risk of a sprained finger or something. And no, I'm not talking about head concussions, brain concussions. I'm talking, things that would just keep the game or make it a sprained finger. Trying to be for a receiver or the quarterback is like, holy moly, that's going to be a problem, right?
Right.
So you don't want any injury. So you slow down the pace. You take it easy. You don't get so aggressive. You just get nice and defensive, stay defensive, and that's pretty much the way it went. And I like that. That's good strategy, smart strategy.
It was. It was
good to the
good.
coaches and everybody else who making those calls.
It was a beautiful evening out there too.
disgustingly gorgeous. Y'all
Oh.
got cold.
It started getting a little chilly towards the end.
Yeah, all the way down to like 65 degrees.
Oh well, the wind was blowing, which made it feel a little cooler than what it was. But other than that,
Anyway, okay.
was
Popcorn.
good.
I'll talk about the popcorn there. It's nice and salty the way I like it. And
yes, it is.
it's kind of crunchy. It's just right. I like
Yes.
their popcorn. I'll go for the popcorn.
Yeah, the popcorn was great.
Yeah, and I make popcorn here, but I just can't make it like
Oh, there's something about those big machines.
there he is. I still don't. It's movie house popcorn.
Yes.
That's what's going on. All right, let's talk about some serious stuff.
Well, that was serious.
Yeah, oh, I know. What they've got a game Friday night. It's going to be here.
Yeah,
I think
I was looking it up
forgot.
and then I got distracted. I'll look it up while you.
Homecoming is coming in a couple of weeks or so. Drew, by the way, who calls us from Florida, he's going to be here for that game.
Really?
He's coming in. Don't know when he's coming in. If he's coming in
Good.
on
He
Thursday,
can
by any
come
chance,
sit
maybe we
with
can
us.
get him in here on Friday morning.
Right,
Have to
that'd be
chat with the boy about
great.
that.
That will be great.
Israel's military is striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon today. Oh my! And it's telling civilians to run and hide, get out of the way.
Oof, that's
Y'all don't
bad.
need to be in between us and Hezbollah because we're going to take them out. We're going to spank them, and it's going to be corporal punishment. And the way it is, we're going to send all our corporals there to punish them. Earlier strikes appeared to be the widest in geographic range, so they went off at the same time in a widespread area. So maybe Israel has just pretty well had it with Hezbollah. Head them off, cut them up, cut off the head of the snake is what they're probably trying to work out right now. And of course, what y'all want commentary?
Go ahead.
Do it.
I'm going to strike a whole bunch of targets this morning. First pitch. Y'all may as well get warmed up out there. I was waiting for some callers to call in to start, but nobody wants to call in early. So here's your excuse. Drink some milk that you've been meaning to throw out for the 2 weeks since it expired about a month ago. You may as well do something to kick off this week just because I might just strike a nerve or two, hopefully anyway. For those of you with memories that are no better than mine, I'll remind you again, there is no one from any main political party nor from any of the left field parties that don't even have enough members to upset the city council race in Delview, North Carolina. You've never heard of it.
No.
I don't want either of the two individuals currently running for the presidency of the United States from the two primary parties, those we recognize, and we recognize them with disdain, the parties who are the two political guys who are running. I don't want either one of them to win.
You said Delview?
Delview.
You got my curiosity up now.
Delview.
Okay.
However, in spite of my wishes, one of those is going to win by default of all of us. Those who vote and those who don't vote.
Mhm.
It's our fault. We've come too far for anything different to be the case this time around. May as well plan for 2028. One of these two is going to be elected, and we're going to suffer either way. I have too often voted for what I consider to be the less worst of the two. Once was, when I was just a mere youngster, I voted for who I thought was the better candidate. Sometimes I was proven to be right, sometimes I was wrong. That's what American politics is supposed to be about. I voted, and I hope you do. And like one of my friends, a county commissioner, said a couple of weeks ago, it's my opinion, fact check that, or words to that effect. My modification is, got to get a t-shirt too for this one. I want to wear it on election day. I voted, fact check that. We go to political rallies. We listen to candidates answer questions that reporters ask. We tune in to the debates and we listen to the barrage of political ads on radio and TV and whatever the candidates want us to believe is truth on billboards and in newspapers. The ads they run, we all know that it's only what they want us to believe. True or false is up to us to use our best judgment before casting our votes. We do expect our media to be fair, cover political events without commentary in a news program. We would like our media outlets to use their right to present editorial commentaries if they desire, but to disguise editorials by calling it news reporting is a disgrace to broadcasting and journalism. Newspapers have had the tradition of endorsing candidates in editorials. Too often, though, even in those days, they ventured outside the wire and waited until the last day or so of voting before running their editorials, and then actually ran news stories on page one, supposedly reporting that the big paper in town had named its pick for whichever candidate they're endorsing in an editorial. That's just not right. Weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, y'all, are the days when, and I know this very well, I should, those are the days when Team 2 takes over the weekend TV news. Team 2 anchors, Team 2 producers, Team 2 reporters. This happens especially in small markets. Market sizes are determined by the population and the coverage area of the TV stations in the various markets. New York City, of course, is the largest market in the country. LA, Los Angeles, is number 2. In smaller markets like the hyphenated Greenville, Washington, New Bern market, there are any number of cities and counties that are included in that market area, from Jacksonville to Moorhead to Kinston, cities that don't have enough of their own, don't have any TV stations whatsoever because they're not big enough. News in small markets on weekends is most often dealing with festivals, parades, generic stories. When the media, what the media once called these generic stories, evergreen stories that were actually produced days earlier that were not dated and could fill the hard to fill time on weekends, with stations hoping they didn't have to rely on feeds from their dreaded networks to help. One would think that in a presidential election year, with a bit more than a month from election day, that when either of the two primary candidates held a rally in your backyard, as happened this weekend, that there would be enough sidebar stories, those are stories in addition to the primary story dealing with the events at the rally, that could see you through both weekend days and would headline your website's news through Sunday at least. On the Wilmington station's website's Sunday, there are 2 stations there, 2 primary stations. One featured a basketball classic. One featured a basketball classic as the lead story on their website. Cheapest gas in the area, secondary story. A kickball tournament. And the opposing local political party's take on Donald Trump's rally in town on Saturday. The other had a new popcorn venue opening. This is all ahead of the Trump rally. Ongoing recovery efforts for their area following a tropical storm earlier in the week. A legitimate story as that area was heavily impacted. Then there was a story from Saturday on the Trump rally, left over from Saturday. No updates.
Interesting.
I understand that a lot of folks don't want Trump to be president. Like I said, but it is not now, nor should ever be, by inclusion or exclusion, the place for a legitimate news operation to help or hurt either candidate. Not during the news broadcast. Both stations in the past have had very good editorial content. In one case, it was delivered by the general manager without input or advice from the news department. In the other case, unfortunately, the news director at the time, the guy that runs the news department, who is generally not even on TV, wrote and got his face time. Everyone then assumed that everything that the news department covered was based upon the whims of the news director who did the editorials. Some of that was political. So much for fair and impartial content. We are lucky in talk radio. We're upfront opinionated. We don't have to justify anything. We give others the opportunity to express their opinions, unless you're so far off base according to accepted standards, 2 + 2 still equals 4, unless you're a dunce or have just listened to some off the wall source of nonsense. Or when you start off with, I read it in a chat room, I read it on the internet, I heard it somewhere, or my grandmother's best friend's uncle told me, we're not going to give you any credibility. We'll try not to giggle, but there will be no credibility attached to your comments, and you'll hear, gotta go, pretty soon.
Well, Rayford, I believe everything I read on the internet, don't you?
Good. I don't believe in unicorns either. I respect your opinions, and I do everything I can not to argue. But when it comes to the issue becoming a dead end, you're not going to convince me to change my mind. I won't try to convince you to change yours. And I hope that I won't stoop to the age-old opening line so often that accompanies people who love to hear themselves talk. Wouldn't you agree that? How many times have we heard that line to ask of us? Wouldn't you agree that? No, I don't agree to anything. I'm antisocial. A definite turnoff, and I don't fall for a setup. That's what that is. Wouldn't you agree to that? Sounds like me in an interrogation room decades ago. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Suspect number one? Wouldn't you agree that this was a bad plan that you had? In other words, was this premeditated? It's an opening line that interrogators use. Sorry for the rambling. I'm not going to get painted into a corner. I'm not going to allow you to do that. But it is what it is. So if you haven't heard about it, Donald Trump was in Wilmington Saturday. He was scheduled earlier this summer for a rally, but the weather turned rotten and the rally was postponed.
Thunderstorm.
I read both of the local stations' online coverage of the event. Neither mentioned nor showed whether there was a big crowd, a little crowd, or maybe no crowd of people in attendance at all.
I had a friend that was there, and it was a big crowd.
I don't
he
know
said.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
I heard it was packed also.
Yeah,
The Wilmington
he said
Star
it was a-
News had a wide-angle photo of part of the crowd at that did attend.
You sure it wasn't the pre-crowd they took a picture of?
In its story, it was a big crowd.
Yes.
In its story, the Star News referenced thousands of people that attended. That's what they said. They didn't count them. They just know there were thousands. In one of the TV station stories, again taking upon itself without attribution to a source, wrote that Trump reported false claims about Democrats wanting executions of babies after birth.
Oh my
Quote,
gosh.
end quote. They didn't attribute that to somebody else. They took it upon themselves. That becomes an editorial.
Of course.
The station had another line it used without attribution to a source, and another that it used the New York Times as its source, a common thing for news organizations without resources to do its own reporting. Happy not to be a part of the so-called mainstream media these days, I will stick to the principles of good journalism when in those rare moments that we actually cover a news event, most often we comment on other people's news stories, making our coverage and commentary. Those folks in newspaper and TV conglomerates, they can't understand why the public does not respect or trust them any longer. When one TV group can own 45 or more TV stations in different markets across these United States, that one commercial operation can control what the people in 45 of the 200 markets, 1/4 of the markets in this country can be are owned by our own TV stations, controlled by one person, the CEO of whatever that broadcast division is. They only get to see and hear what the so-called local news takes to the airwaves at 6 p.m. because they're told from the top what to do. You know what flows downhill.
Oh, yes.
I need to shut up, don't I?
Oh,
I know.
listen to you.
Ranting and raving. So y'all feel free to call if you dare. 910-333-0139.
Was there something,
910-333-0139. Yes.
Been a lot of talk about the governor's race over the weekend. It's
What
been
a
all over the
hot mess
national
that
news.
is.
That made, in one of those two TV stations, it
Mhm.
made 40% of the coverage of the Trump rally was the fact that he wasn't there, and then had to point that out.
Well, you know, I noticed on the big
That's a
red
separate,
wave
that's a
rally,
separate story.
That is a whole separate story.
the big red wave rally that we're supposed to be having here in Jacksonville this coming weekend, he was headlining that, and I noticed his name wasn't on it when
It
the
should not
reminder
be on
came
it.
out.
Unless he can show me, Mr. Robinson, Lieutenant Governor Robinson, I'll give you your credit. That's your title. If you can show me any substance whatsoever that this stuff is not true, show me that it was all a joke, the comments that I've been reading now and or taken out of context. Show me that it's not true, and I will give you all the credit in the world, and I'll go to bat for you.
Well, I'm getting a little, I'm hearing a lot of chatter about people talking about they're going to be writing in someone for governor.
I will not accept that nomination.
The
Maybe.
name that I'm hearing is Pat McCrory.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah, that was circulating an event I was at then, right?
Yes. Yes, I've heard it from a lot of people. So we'll see what happens.
It's not going to go anywhere.
No, it's
I
not
mean,
going to
it's
go
just too
anywhere.
late.
But I think it's people voicing their
Disdain.
disdain
That's
both
what it is.
sides. So
Well, Mark Robinson's campaign manager has resigned as his top fundraiser
Yeah,
and a bunch of other ones.
Why
Yeah,
do you stay? I mean, only the captain stays on a sinking ship,
yeah,
even the rats get
a
off.
campaign manager. I
Right.
mean, a lot of his comments were just, if they are true,
If they're
if those
true,
videos are true,
And nobody is saying not.
super
Right.
offensive.
It's just
Super offensive.
well, it's like Lindsey Graham said. If he did indeed make those remarks, then he is unfit to be governor.
Oh,
I agree with that
absolutely.
statement. I
He
agree
did
100%.
not say those remarks, then he needs to prove it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
But that's been the headline all weekend.
And
long.
well, I agree with that statement. I
oh
mean,
my gosh.
yes, it is easy to doctor things now.
if it's not true, all he had to do was stand up there and say, wait a minute, let me explain this to you. Here's what actually happened. The proof.
Because you
Right.
can take a video and splice it to mean whatever you want.
Well, I did that on
I mean,
audio
yeah.
many years ago.
So
You should have heard
If
it.
he
Did it for fun.
said it in a whole different context, and let's hear the whole thing. He hasn't said anything. Some of that stuff he said was absolutely offensive.
Yeah, just coming out and saying that's not what I said is not an answer to it.
No, it's not. Show
Not
us.
when you got people, when I
Well, they're
see
showing
you say
videos,
it, unless their lips are not saying that, or lips are
Correct.
not moving at the same rate that the audio is coming out. No, you
I
said
agree.
it, Jack.
Yeah,
Now, explain why you said it. That's what I want to
yeah.
hear.
Let's hear the
Right.
before and after part of
All of
what
it.
because that's these comments where you could tell were they're edited, which I mean they're making their point. And I get it.
Well, let's go to the slavery point before we do weather.
I wouldn't even talk about that one.
Okay,
but
well,
yeah,
let's just
that's
take
offensive
that.
too.
I'm in favor of slavery.
Yeah,
If the best thing that we could have in this country is to have Josh Stein as governor of this
Oh.
state,
Lord.
I could be in favor of slavery before I'd be in favor of Josh Stein being
What?
Josh Stein. I mean, that's what he could say.
Yes. Oh, okay.
But didn't he say something about
If-
people should own slaves now? Didn't he make
I
some kind
don't
of weird
know.
comment
Yeah,
like
something
that?
stupid.
Something. I mean, it's offensive. A lot of his other comments, his comments to women are offensive. His super offensive.
Oh.
Right.
That, yeah, same. Super offensive. But I mean, he's made a lot of.
That's anti-Semitic. That's
It's very-
anti-American.
Yes.
And it's anti-me, and therefore
Uh-huh.
I take offense.
The women comments I really have a big issue with. And he talk about he would own slaves and people should own slaves. What? Like I can't.
Now, if he was going back in time and doing a historical perspective, there were
Well, it's a different
there were
story.
black people who owned slaves.
I know there were.
Okay?
Yes.
So,
hmm
and that's wrong.
I agree. I
And
mean,
if he was pointing that out, if he can show me that,
mhm.
show
Well, that's
me.
what I'm saying.
But
Show us the entire video of everything you said that is so offensive.
Yeah.
Let's see the entire, not these snippets.
Well, it's
But he hasn't said anything. That's what is scary.
well, here's the bad part about it. He's had advance notice that this was coming down. He
Yeah.
didn't know how bad perhaps it was going to be, but he should have been on the preparing his offense as part of a defense immediately.
I watched a movie years ago. It's a hilarious movie, but in the movie, one of the characters has aspirations of eventually running for political office. He would not even jaywalk. You know what I mean? He
that's-
wouldn't order a drink in a restaurant because he's
Right.
like, I think if anybody ever has any inkling that they even remotely want to run for political office, they need to just lead a very squeaky clean life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, if I find them doing too much,
Yeah,
too
well,
squeaky clean,
yeah.
then you're all you're doing is campaigning with your daily life.
right.
And I
Well,
don't-
some
I wanna-
people actually do
Tell
that,
me
but yeah.
what's the real you?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, because that's what I would do as a reporter.
Mhm.
What's the real you about? I mean, do you get up, you put your pants on one leg at a time? Which leg do you use first to put in your
Mm-hmm.
pants? Which shoe do you have put on a particular shoe first?
I do, yes.
Lee?
Lee, do you put a certain shoe on first?
Not that I've ever noticed.
Yeah.
After the next 3 days.
Well,
Yeah.
which leg do you put in?
Do my right foot and right leg first.
I think I do my left first.
Uh,
Because I'm using my right balance on.
Mm-mm.
Because I'm right-handed.
yeah.
Well, right now,
Not
I sort
why-
of have to change about the pants and stuff like that.
I don't.
My right
always.
leg is pretty like a
No,
a
no
bad
matter
thing.
what. Yeah.
Now, see,
Now
I
you're
never,
gonna think about it all day.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
I hope
Mhm.
so.
All day
Yeah.
long, I'm going to be
Every
which
time
shoe
you,
I
every
put
time
on
you
first?
sit down to shoe, or just subconsciously, what do you reach over?
I bet a lot of
I
people
know.
do this.
A lot of people do it. Now, mine's my right. I know for a fact that's how I do it.
I
I have
started
it.
years ago paying
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with the fins that I'm
Mhm.
on. I put the same fin on first.
I eat a certain way too. I noticed that this weekend. I got to get past this. Yeah.
The
The marine
things-
forecast.
But before
Now
you
that
get
I've
to the marine
screwed up your
forecast,
morning,
why is there a yellow X? Where did that come from?
it just
Off the
developed.
coast of Africa.
Okay, I just was focused on the red one, and I
It's
looked up a minute
southeast
ago.
of, it's just southeast of the Cabo Verde Islands, and that's the one we pay some attention to because it's heading into waters that are conducive for further development. It's a 70 or 80% chance as of this morning of developing in the next.
The
few
yellow
days.
X?
Yeah.
Of course
And
it
it's not
is.
in a good place for that. It's moving west northwestward,
Oh, jeez.
so
okay.
that's another bad direction.
I know what the red one's trying to do, but the yellow one was a little bit of a shock.
Red one's going to move on up into
Mhm.
the. Well, it's coming out of the. Will be coming out of the Caribbean, going to be
Mhm.
moving up into the Gulf. I don't know whether it's going to go across the Yucatan, as so many have done. How much more developed it will be, looking pretty bad for some interest. And then, but the most direction of travel, the general direction of travel that it will become is moving towards the west northwest again now. Still, will be north. That will
Well-
put it up into the Gulf area.
One of the models I saw last night on Mr. Red X over there had it coming across the top of Florida and coming back into the Atlantic. but-
Every
yeah.
model
Uh-huh.
person out there, 1, 2, 5 of them, everything that ends up in the Gulf of Mexico is going to cross Florida and going to come out into the Atlantic and move right up the seaboard and hit
Yeah,
North
that's what it
Carolina's Outer
said.
Banks.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Bull for the models.
Yeah.
There
Well,
are
yeah.
more wrong models than
Mhm.
there are right models.
Well, that one's so far down right now. Looking at it,
Yeah.
it could do a lot of things.
It could.
Yikes.
I'll wait and see. The Marine Forecast brought to you by Community Prevention Services of Jacksonville. Prevention is the key word in Community Prevention Services. The idea is to make sure that any issues you're experiencing do not blow into something that's life-changing. You might think that the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression you're dealing with is awful, and in all honesty, it probably is. What you want to do is to make sure it doesn't get to a point that you can't deal with it. And by deal with it, you need to be trying to cover up the confusion. Yes, it is all real. And the best way to deal with it is direction. The problem with that is finding someone who can help you without judging you. How far from wrong am I on that?
Keep going.
Family, even your closest friends, may not understand the issue. Even if your best friend has gone through the same trials, not everyone is wired the same. Pretty good bet that even with your issues, you know folks with their problems that don't bother you, perhaps, in the least. It's not anything that you have to deal with. Why not reach out to a professional, a counselor that is right around the corner here in Onslow County, here in Jacksonville? No trips to Wilmington, no trips to Chapel Hill, Asheville, Charlotte, none of that stuff. Locally owned, locally operated Community Prevention Services is at 918 Henderson Drive. Counselors there actually care. They care about their patients. You're a whole lot more than just a number to them. Give them a call, set up a time to talk. You'll be glad you did. 910-353-0972. Offshore today, Not a bad start to the week. Northeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots east, 2 to 4 feet, 2-foot waves from the east, 4 seconds apart, mixing it up with some 2-foot waves from the northeast every 10 seconds. Sounds and rivers a moderate chop. Tomorrow, easterly winds 5 to 10, 2 to 4 footers, sounds and rivers a light chop. And on Wednesday, pretty much the same thing. Easterly winds 5 to 10, maybe 10 to 12, seas 2 to 4 feet, sounds and rivers a light chop.
Today, mostly cloudy, then gradually becoming sunny with a high of 83. Tonight, partly cloudy at low of 65. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a high of 81. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy at low of 69. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny, a high of 85.
Okay, we have a caller, and I didn't have a chance to look and see who it was. Who's this?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing fine. How are you? What can I do for you?
Yeah, hi. It's my name is Charlie.
Hey,
Hi,
Charlie.
Charlie?
Charlie called us Friday.
I did.
Hey, Charlie.
I did.
Were you from Indiana?
Yep.
What are you doing up so early in Indiana? Are you in Central Time or Eastern Time?
Let's just say that Bill W. is a part of my life.
Bill W.
Bill W.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Gotcha. That's why you're up.
Hey, listen. Well, I'm drunk. I'm not up. I'm drunk. Hey, quick question for you.
Yes.
You guys want to talk politics or nothing?
Oh, we'll talk politics. We'll talk whatever you want to talk about. We'll try not to talk nothing.
I was doing some research earlier. You know how people sometimes they take their talking points from Fox or CNN and they're religiously tied to those talking points and they're like, you can't persuade them?
Yeah.
So I heard somebody the other day talking about Kamala Harris, and I'm like, "Ow, come on, this can't be true." And they're talking about the wealth of her mother and father when she was growing up. I'm like, no, she was underprivileged. She suffered. She had it worse than slaves. But then I did a little bit of research on her, and I found out, and this is factual, her father is literally a genius. He has a brilliant, gifted mind. So gifted that he was a professor at Stanford University in 1972. Stanford, for anybody in your audience that may not be aware of what Stanford University is, it's a college in California. Tiger Woods went there. Although I don't think he went there because of his intelligence. He went there because of his golfing game. But some of the most genius, mathematical, brilliant minds attend Stanford University.
Okay.
Kamala Harris's father, Donald J. Harris, was a professor there. In 1972 to 1975, he was making approximately $110,000 per year. So you think about let's say 1975. If you're making $175,000 in 1975, in today's dollar, in my opinion, it's probably maybe $800,000. But it gets better. Her mother was an attorney making $80,000 per year in 1975.
Mhm.
You combine both of their incomes, 110 plus maybe 85, almost $200,000 in 1975. From what I've seen, she talks about, I had to work at McDonald's. We barely got by. This is factual. You need to check this out. I didn't believe it. So here's my point. All of the people that are voting for her, they're being hoodwinked. But the beauty about it is they don't care. There could be conclusive evidence. I'm going to be very careful how I say this. I don't want you to cut me off. Her presidential running mate, Tim Walz, or even Donald Trump's presidential running mate, J.D. Vance. There could be conclusive evidence that one of these guys, there could be conclusive evidence that Tim Walz is worse than, let's say, a child molester. No one would care on their side. No one would care. They would still vote for this human being.
Yes.
Here's my point. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, the vice president is not going to win or lose. It's not going to cost you the election or going to gain you anything. It's just there. So it's a placeholder. To be honest with you, in a campaign, it's a placeholder, and everybody says, "Oh, it's just a heartbeat away from being president." If it was, Kamala Harris never would have been. Then Joe Biden never would have been elected. Bill Clinton would not have been elected. There's so many people. George Bush would not have been elected. There are so many people would never have been elected if they counted on their VP candidate to get them through. My opinion, but go ahead.
So let me ask you a question. Obviously, 90% of legacy media, and if anybody of your audience doesn't know what legacy media is old school media like ABC, NBC, CBS. It's the television media.
Correct.
They're influencing individuals like, maybe a woman or a man in their 60s or 70s that doesn't have access to the internet, and they're still old school and they're watching legacy media. They believe they believe this stuff, and they're going to vote on that. I don't understand. Hey, did you hear that they're trying to censor Elon Musk for a Twitter post that he posted on his Twitter account?
Yes.
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 What does censor mean again?
They're supposed to censor you for bad language that's not acceptable, deemed by whoever the gods are, the FCC. They're supposed to censor you for events like that. That's pretty much it across the border. I mean, even your sexual perversions do not count as far as censorship is concerned in the media. Bad words do. But today, supporting the wrong person or being the wrong person gets you censored.
So what do you think the outcome is? What do you think
of the election?
What they could do to him? No, to censor Elon Musk.
Oh, that was
What does that
ridiculous.
mean?
I mean, he's going to win on that one because there are too many people who depend on him. First of all, let's go back to this media as it once was. There was David Brinkley. There was Chet Huntley, my day. And there was Walter Cronkite, a man that I actually met and interviewed when I was in TV news. And there were any number of great individuals out there. Charles Kuralt had spent some quality time with him. Great people that man in America was more trusted than any politician in America. His name was Cronkite. We all know that, don't we? If you've been around a while, you know that. That's when TV news was trusted because they had people like Walter Cronkite, even in the local media. However, that's changed. The most mistrusted group of individuals, believe it or not, more mistrusted than politicians is the media. We've come a long way, baby, and it ain't in the right way.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this.
That's my opinion.
If Kamala Harris is elected and she wins the presidency of the United States of America, obviously you can't see into the future. I'm just curious, where do all three of you, if you could sum it up in 30 seconds, where do you see the United States of America going forward if she's elected?
Well, I've actually talked about this on the air. This one person, and she, whether you like it or not, this person called the president is mostly a figurehead. It shows up for events and it does exactly what the handlers tell it to do, what's expected of him or her. She will learn very quickly, as did Biden, believe it or not, even though he had been in the business of being a politician for 228 years, I think. He couldn't sign his name during when the Declaration was written or the Constitution was, because he couldn't sign that. He didn't know how to write his name in those days. But one person can have some influence, but it's not going to make a whole lot of difference unless all three branches of the legislature, the two branches of the legislature, all three branches, including the judicial folks, are from the same inkling. If they all think alike, then something will go either really well or really badly. But I have never seen that. Even when the House is divided and the Senate is divided in different directions, when something goes really awry at the White House, they eventually come around. And then there's the Supreme Court. There's that evil branch that we have out there that they don't care what your politics are. It may be split, Their votes may be split, but they will eventually make the final call. And so far, in almost 250 years, we've done fairly well.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Who do you think the great Oz from the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain, who is the great Oz that controls the Biden administration? And if Harris Oz and the curtain, that's going to control her.
The same great Oz, and I don't think it's an individual. I
So
think
you don't think it's Obama and his team?
no, he's not powerful enough.
Really? You
no,
don't think
no, I do
that
not.
Susan Harris? So you don't think that Susan Harris plays a key role?
There are any number of individuals. I will say that the DNC, who is controlled by money, who is in bed with, my God, how many countries? I think that's where the control factors lie. It's not going to be on one individual.
So like a group.
Obama could not control.
Can I give you my radical? Can I give you my radical opinion?
Let me finish that one thought, though. Obama was not powerful enough to control his 8 years in office completely and totally. He tried, but he couldn't do it. But go ahead with your radical thoughts. I'd love to hear
So
them.
here's my radical opinion that 99% of your audience will never agree with. I remember something about when Barack and Michelle Obama occupied the White House. Michelle Obama made some sort of comment about this is the first time she's ever felt proud of her country.
Yes,
In
I heard
my
that.
opinion, when it comes to reparations for what happened to blacks, I don't even know if I can articulate it. I firmly believe that Michelle Obama has such a hatred for this country because of what happened to blacks, how they were brought to this country, enslavement, and what they had to endure, which was horrific and horrible. She's not going to stop, and he's not going to stop until reparations and people have paid for what she believes her ancestors for a radical. Maybe I don't know if I can back it up, but I truly believe that.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. I'm assuming you're Caucasian.
I'm a white American for most of my life.
Okay. Most, and I know these two ladies here are both Caucasian. They're white Americans. You don't know what I am. They do. I'm white. You probably, well, you do because you see it on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook.
Mhm.
But even going back as far as my grandfather, now I'm old, but my grandfather was born in the late 1800s, not long after the Civil War ended. Just FYI. Neither he nor his parents, we don't know how far back we can go, but I can go back to my great grandparents. None of them ever owned a slave. And we were from the South. We grew up in this. I grew up in the South. They all came from the South. I don't know when they finally got here, but they finally got here. None of them ever owned a slave. I've never met a slave. I've never met a slave owner. Have you?
I'm going to tell you something.
Okay.
In my life,
In this country.
my life, can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
So I am a white individual. I guess that's how you would describe it. In my life, in my whole life, I've only met 2 white people that have used the N-word. Only 2. In my
I can't.
whole life.
I can't say that.
I lived in the Midwest. I lived in California. I lived all over the place. And it really, it behooves me, if that's the word, when they talk about the racism of white people. I would never associate with anyone that would use that word. And only 2 people my whole life that I've been around have used that word. And I said, I'm not comfortable with the word. And they make it sound like white people. They push this narrative. Like Hillary Clinton, she talked about the deplorables.
That's
They
me.
label Donald Trump as a racist. So many people, and I think I may have brought this up on the last time I spoke with you guys. You're aware of the Joe Biden crime bill, correct?
Yes. I've seen.
most
I've
people
seen
end
that.
up-
Yes.
Yeah. most people aren't aware of the Joe Biden crime bill. This is a bill that Joe Biden authored, I think, in 1997. You can go to YouTube and Google Joe Biden crime bill. He literally got on the Senate floor, I think it was the Senate floor, and he gave this loud speak. He's yelling and screaming, and he goes, drugs are tearing apart our country. And he goes, I have authored this new bill. And he raised his hand, his thumb and his index finger together, and he goes, if you're caught with less than a quarter amount of crack cocaine, you are sentenced to jail for a minimum of 10 years.
Mhm.
Well, guess who won crack cocaine in the 80s and 90s more than any other race?
There's a dude named Hunter. No,
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay.
As a race, yes.
Unfortunately, black people got caught up in that. White people were doing cocaine.
Yep.
So the sentence of a white person or an Indian person or a Muslim person, a Jewish person, a Baptist person is caught with cocaine, slap on the wrist. You go home. You go have fun. Go to your country club. But if you get caught with less than a quarter size amount of crack cocaine, 10 years in jail. The black family, that was one of the reasons how the black family was destroyed. Most people, the black family, the mother and father of the black family was pretty much intact until the 1970s. They were intact. According to now, it's less than 20%. So much of our society is based on race. They push this narrative. They don't realize that Joe Biden's mentor was Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond was a major political individual in the Senate, I guess.
Mhm.
He was a KKK grand wizard. This is a man that obviously had a belief that blacks were inferior. Blacks should be hung from trees. Joe Biden loved this guy. If you can go online, just Google Joe Biden, Strom Thurmond. This was his mentor. But nobody talks about this. Hunter Biden is a crack addict. He's been caught with crack. He's been caught with guns. He's lied about everything. I just don't get it why people aren't waking up and saying to themselves, why are we going to vote for these people? And Trump is full of crap as well. Back in the 70s and 80s, I guarantee you, his father and him, they owned real estate all over New York and other cities. They discriminated against blacks. But guess who else discriminated against blacks during that time? Democrats, Catholics, Jews, Methodists. But people are too stupid. They just can't grasp the reality of the true reality of what used to be and what it is now. So anyway, I don't know. You take for what I'm saying for what it's worth. And just say this guy's completely out of his mind. But you can Google all this.
Well, I'm going to check on. I'm going to check. The only thing you said that I got to check on because I don't know for a fact is Thurman's relationship with the Klan. I did not know he was even a member of the Klan. Okay, I'm going to check it just because I'm curious now. If nothing else, I'm not challenging you on. I'm just curious about it.
Yeah.
It's like my cohort was questioning me about a city in North Carolina called Delview, and I'm going to ask her about. I know she's Googled that by now, but that big old city called
another
Delview.
Another thing about Joe Biden, you can Google this,
Mhm.
and you can say, this Charlie guy's crazy. He's a conspiracy theorist. You can go to Google. So you're listening to the audience. Just type in Joe Biden and busing black children into white schools.
Mhm.
Joe Biden went on the Senate floor, and he basically talked about not what he was against segregation, and he talked about schools becoming a jungle type environment. Now think about that. He talked about blacks being incorporated into white schools, and he used the word a jungle environment. Now, when you think of the jungle, if I tell you, listen, hey, you and I are going to go to the jungle in Africa. When you think of the animals in the jungles of Africa, what do you think of? You think of apes, and you think of gorillas, and you think of wild beasts.
I think of
I think of lions.
That's what I think
Lions
of.
are first thing
Lions.
pops up in my head.
Lions and
Think
tigers.
about
You
elephants.
you don't think of puppy dogs and little butterflies. It's
No.
words like that he used to use. I guarantee you this guy, I guarantee you he was a racist human being behind closed doors. And that's fine. No, it's actually not fine because I want nothing to do with any racist monsters. I just don't get, black people make up 14% of the population. I guess 90% of them keep on voting for Democrats. I just don't get it. I don't get it. So maybe I'm missing something. And it's funny because, you know, this is the same old rhetoric. They go into the politicians, they go into the black community, and they basically kiss their hands and their feet, and they say, you know, this guy's racist. He's going to make your lives horrible. And then they go after the LGBTQA plus community, which makes up less than 4% of the population. So they're already guaranteed 14% of the black population, 3% of the LGBTQA population. That's 17%. And then you get these woke white kids between age 18 and 23 who are guilty because they grew up in a privileged suburban background. Now they're at a liberal arts university, and they're told that their beliefs and their family, you know, they used to be racist, so their minds are triggered. It's just funny watching all this. Hey, let me ask you a question. Have you seen the previews for Matt Walsh's new movie, Am I Racist?
No, I have not.
You got to look into it. It looks really good. You remember that character actor named Borat?
No, I don't.
Remember that guy who's like Borat? I forgot his name. He's a funny comedian.
Oh,
And
Sasha Cohen.
Yeah, Sacha Baron
Oh,
Cohen.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, John
Yeah.
Walsh did the same thing. He's got a new movie coming out where he basically plays these. John Walsh is, I guess, he's a conservative something. I don't know what his position in life is, but the movie's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, where he basically infiltrates these organizations where they, you know, they're promoting pronouns, they're promoting anti-hatred against how whites are horrible racists, and he basically participates. You got to watch. Watch the preview. Just Google Matt Walsh. Am I racist?
Okay. All right. I will take a look at that.
So,
Yeah.
let me ask you something.
Yes.
I do a lot of talking. Go ahead and say something or ask me a question.
I don't have any real questions to ask you right now. I got to, you know, maybe if I don't know whether you have a Facebook page or not, do you?
No. And
Okay.
I would never have a Facebook page because Mark
Smart
Zuckerberg
man.
truly might be the enemy of the people.
Well,
Can't
he
play on that
doesn't
one.
like us. I can tell you that because we keep getting censored. Some parts banned from.
So how do you get censored? How would you get? Why do you have the F? That F bothers me in your picture.
Well, we don't do that. Oh wow, the Facebook F, yeah, I know, but no, they will time to time they will pop us, slap us, and delete and censor for a while anything that we play with music in it
Mhm.
that might be less than 30 seconds to more than 30 seconds in length. I mean, you know, we can't even play an opening song. Can't play the national anthem on this station, on our network here. We cannot do it.
Listen.
We get
I'm
zapped.
going to take off. I got to take off, but I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yes.
Okay, I'm being very delicate. I'm not trying to embarrass you, but do you make a living off doing this show? Do you make,
Absolutely
good
not.
money?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, with that, I get a kick out of your show. I like you guys. I like your little format. It just seems like a group of smart individuals. You're just collectively coming together and you're just sharing thoughts and opinions, and you're taking calls from individuals like me. And with that, take care. Have a good day.
I think the phrase is bid you adieu.
Thank
I
you.
Have a good day, Charlie.
I do. Thank you, Charlie. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye. Interesting
Yes.
individual.
I
Yes.
can't find. I was looking. I can't find anything that says Strom Thurmond was that. I was just looking.
I
while he was
find quite a
talking.
bit that up
I
until
found
the
a whole lot of other things.
1970s, he was a bit racist.
Oh yeah, definitely. I saw that.
He was
Yes,
anti. He opposed.
the Civil Rights Act, and he didn't like Martin Luther King Jr. And I just
Right.
pulled that up while he was talking.
Yeah.
All that popped up.
Yeah, which I did not. I never had any doubt about that.
Oh, I
back
agree
in the
with that,
70s
yeah.
and 60s.
Yeah.
But just knowing him, but he ran. His views were extremely
Oh.
radical and extremely racist, in my personal opinion. Not that he was. I can't find any connection with the Klan. Not yet. I did find out that it came to light after his death in 2003 that he had a daughter.
Yep, illegitimate daughter. I saw that. I just saw that a minute ago.
From an African American woman.
Yeah.
Just breaking news. Kelly brought up about the campaign manager resigning from Mark Robinson's. He wasn't the only one either.
Yeah, there's been several.
There's
people.
his senior advisor, his campaign
They're
manager,
bailing.
Chris. Oh, yeah. Finance director, Heather. I know Heather.
Yeah, Lee
And
knows her.
deputy campaign manager, Jason Ritz. A bunch of them have stepped down. Wow.
Well, they got mad about that video.
Wow. Mm.
All right. Okay, get another caller. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? This Mike.
Hey,
Hey,
Mike,
Mike.
I had $100.
I knew Mike was going to call.
$100. You'd be either the first or the second caller.
And I got to go pick up my
Listen,
grandson. So, Mike, I'm going to be listening to you in the car because I got to go pick up my grandson.
All right.
Yeah.
So after
Oh,
that
well, I'll
last
be listening.
caller,
Yeah.
where do I start?
Okay.
Start at the
All right.
beginning, Mike.
So this is the second time he came on the radio. So I'm glad he's calling in from out of state and giving different point of views and what's going on locally around out of state. But second time he brought up Kamala's parents and how much they made. So I had to do a little bit of digging this morning, and the median big large truck about to pass me. The median what an average of their jobs, the biochemist and an associate professor today is between 90,000 and 158,000. You can Google that, find it all day long, right?
In California?
Back in yeah. So
At Stanford in
Back in-
California, the median salary is between 90 and how much?
158,000.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Let's start. We'll do some checking here to be sure. Go ahead.
That's today. That's today.
Yes.
So back in 1970, it would be theory lower, given that all jobs median salaries increased by, according to the government, around 842%. So will those figures still be the same from today and back then? I highly doubt it.
Let's say professor at he was at Stanford. I think he said
He was an associate professor in 1972.
at Stanford, right?
Yeah, he was an associate professor. And then another point is, could you find out someone's company information from 50 years ago?
I don't know.
Whether
Yes, I can, but it would take some little bit of digging, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Give me just a second. I'm
People
trying to
leak-
go ahead.
Yeah, people can leak it, the information and stuff, but it's just not like readily available. So I would like to tell him if he could to tell us where he got the figures from,
Mhm.
where they came from, what's the sources, just to where we can check all this and get more clarification. Number two, even if that all was true, we all know of rich people that force their children to start from the bottom, not actually get help through college as far as living expenditures. You better go out and get a job because you need to learn how to survive in this world. And if it was true, I believe she would fit in that category because she did have a job at McDonald's. She did have to put herself through. She had some help for her parents, but it wasn't like they were taking care of her fully.
At Stanford today is $185,000 per year.
Yeah, it's around that. Yeah. That's not starting, right?
The average professor base salary at Stanford is $185,000 a year.
And the average full-time professor, not an associate professor.
I did not check this associate. I don't know what that is. What did you say it is today? Associate professor today?
Those professors starts around not at that particular school, but national average around 92,000.
I don't care about national average. I'm doing the Stanford University where this guy was. Not even California average. Specifically Stanford University. The salary ranges at Stanford for all professors they start at 139,000, go to 251. The average salary is 185
Mm-hmm.
at Stanford.
So that's a full-time professor, because there's a difference between the full-time ones and the associate professors.
This is for all professors. They start at 139 and go to 251.
But they don't all get paid the same as far as like.
Well, no, some of them get paid 139,000. Some of them get paid 251,000. They don't all get paid the same. Right. The average is 185 of that.
Yeah, that'd be entitled for a full-time professor, not an associate. The associate would have a different pay scale.
That's probably where the 139 comes in. The total pay range for professors, a professor at Stanford, from 139 to 251.
Yeah.
Okay.
A professor would be the actual like professor, what I'm saying is, associate professor wouldn't be included between the 139 and the higher number because
Correct.
they're not in that pay scale. That's what I'm saying.
I do not know. You're making assumptions. All I can do is give you the facts that I'm reading them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, when I looked up for an associate professor, if you type in associate professor, you'll probably get different numbers. But the number I got was between 92 and 158, something like that. Which seems comparable. And her job as a biochemist came around the same numbers from 92 to 158 today in today's standards. So if we were to go back 50 years, I highly doubt they would be the same comparable numbers. So that's why I'm curious where you get the numbers from.
Okay, we've got another source here that says associate professor at Stanford's making 160 to 300,000 per year.
And associate.
An associate.
What source is that?
Another one says, see, this is why you can look at anybody. Another one from another organization says professor gets 140 to 250 a year. So, pick a number you want. Pick any source you want. You can find somebody that will agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll find a bunch that disagree with you.
56.
Show me the paycheck and I'll know for a fact what you get. That's the,
And that's what I'm really worried about. That's what I'm really wondering about. How will they get access to their paycheck from 50 years ago? A lot of these corporations don't even have that stuff on record anymore because they trash it after, and locally that they start trashing records after 10 years, 5 years.
Yeah. Assistant professor at Stanford ranges between 113 and 188. So again, how many more do you want me to pick? They'll agree or disagree. So they've got them all over the place. The internet's full of misinformation. Pick one.
Go
That's
figure.
why I looked up the. That's why I looked up the. All I did was look up the national average for.
A national average does not count because the Podunk College and Delville, North Carolina, with a grand total population of 6 people, down from 13 in 2010. A college there, forget about it. You understand?
Yeah, I understand that. So it still favors the same premise that those pay standards wouldn't be nowhere near close to where it is right now from 50 years ago. So
all right, Mike. So we can argue nuts and bolts and stuff there, but the fact is, whatever the salary was at that time, it's very doubtful. 1972, 74, whatever she was talking about or he was talking about, early 70s. It's very doubtful that as an associate professor and she was a lawyer at the time.
She was a biochemist,
The mother was I thought she was not a lawyer.
She was a biochemist. I had looked it up.
Okay. Whatever the salaries were,
Interesting.
they were not likely in the poverty range. Would you agree with that in 1972 at the time that he's talking about?
Yes, I believe that.
Okay.
It would be too.
So she did not grow up in poverty. She did not grow up in a poverty household. Is that the bottom line?
Did she ever made a claim that she grew up in a poverty household?
That's what he says that she's claiming.
That's what he claimed that she's saying.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. I know she has claimed that I've seen that on stage and some in the past, not recently, that she has said, I came up and I was in poverty, yada 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 yada. If her daddy was an associate professor at Stanford, I will tell you right now that is not poverty in those days. Then nor now.
That's true.
Okay.
So I don't understand where the poverty came from, but she always said that she came from a middle class family. That's a middle class family.
In 1972 is probably upper middle class.
Yeah, it's still middle class. It's a middle class family, but we got to basically find out exactly what the figures are from 1972.
Now, also the other thing that nobody's taking into account here is we look at that 1972 figures, and it was in California. The price of gasoline in California was not the price of gasoline in North Carolina. Price of living in California was not the price of living in North Carolina. The price of a house in California, well, I know that even in the, was it 1990s, early 1990s, the General Electric closed part of one of its plants there in near San Francisco, San Jose, I believe they had it, because I was doing photo work for the GE plant in Wilmington at the time. People were given the opportunity when they closed their division in California to move to the plant in Wilmington. They sold their little, as one guy told me when I was talking with him after when I was doing some work out there, commercial photo work. He said, "I'm so glad to be here. I had a house that I sold for $400,000. It was on a 1/4 acre piece of land, and it was a box." 3-bedroom. I want to say he said 1,400 square feet. Not a big house, small house by comparison. Small home. $400,000 in the early 1990s when they closed the San Jose plant. He sold it, took the money, came to Wilmington, and bought a house at a place called Landfall. If you don't know where that is, it's near Wrightsville Beach. It's a gated community. And the prices of the home at that time were in the $250,000 to $300,000 range, probably closer to $800,000 to $1 million, just guessing. But he was able to buy one for cash and on a big lot near the beach. So the prices of your salaries in California don't mean crap, because he was still getting the same salary when he moved to Wilmington. But the prices in California don't mean anything when the cost eats you out of house and home. Like going to New York. You ever been to New York and try to rent a dump?
There's a lot of economic factors.
No, it's
There's a lot of economic factors surrounding it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of economic factors surrounding
So
it.
anyway,
but,
I don't look at the salaries and those kinds of things. I do know that even the national poverty level in national poverty level in 1972, her family was not in the poverty level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would never classify them as impoverished, and I don't believe
No,
he
okay.
ever
So,
did.
so
Unless
I
somebody can
argue
show
it
proof of
any
that.
way you want to. It's, salaries without me getting the exact figures, I don't have a clue.
Yeah. So another thing, we was talking about the crack epidemic, the crack epidemic in the 80s. I come from a community when I was impoverished, and where crack was being funneled to my neighborhoods. And
What part of the country are you in the late 80s?
I was in Wilmington. You was probably there too, sir.
Yep, I was there in Wilmington.
Yep, I came from Creekwood.
Y'all were
Oh, I
probably
know, I know
Garden.
Creekwood. Yeah, I know Creekwood. Now, in the
Creekwood,
80s, late 80s, early 90s, actually, crack didn't come into Wilmington until 93, 4, 5, something like that. I think that's when I first started seeing it. So I know I got the first crack at Curie Beach because I pulled the car over and happened to get some crack in it. Suspicious vehicle there in the middle of the night. So yeah, I got the first crack. I made the first crack at Curie Beach, and that was 1990 something.
Law enforcement may have seen it late, but we definitely had it in the neighborhood.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
I don't remember any of the
definitely had it
80s.
around.
I don't remember in the 80s. We heard about it, but it was coming from the West at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was everywhere. Once it hit the scene coming out of New York, it just went crazy.
Yeah, well,
and a lot of my family members were victims of it, especially during that time.
Ouch. Well, I did a 6-month undercover campaign in '84, and I bought a lot of stuff, and I never found any crack. And I bought it from the black community too. So right there at 10th and Dawson.
Wow.
Yeah, 10th and Dawson was crazy.
Uh-huh.
But
it was.
But yeah, so like there was a lot of that going on, and we can get into the whole geopolitics of how black neighborhoods are the way they are and how they began, and we can agree and disagree on it. I don't know your position on it, but it was pretty messed up how it was all set up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, in other news, have you guys watched the? I'm gonna get off politics for a second. Have you guys watched the Netflix series Monsters the Menendez brothers story.
No, I have not.
I'm
I
writing
followed that
down.
back when it was happening. So
I'm writing that down,
Yeah.
Mike. Thanks.
It's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
I was very surprised. I was like, well, let me just watch it and see what happens.
I got it on my
I was
must view
very impressed.
to follow it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll encourage you guys to watch it. It's pretty good. It goes into the whole psyche and everything of what was happening.
All right. I wrote
Do you
it
think
down.
they think they were justified?
Man,
I hate to ask you a loaded
Watching-
question, but go ahead.
after watching the series
Mm-hmm.
and more expounded facts and stuff, and that was coming out in the series, and sometimes they fabricate stuff, but there's some things that was like, all right, were they lying is the main question about
Yes.
the abuse.
Yes. I don't know whether
some
they were
people
or not,
say-
but were they lying? Generally, they're liars.
Yeah, generally they're liars.
Okay.
And towards the end of the film, you know, could they kept giving it different perspectives of like if they were lying and then if they weren't lying. And towards the end of the film, it pretty much showed that, you know, they were more likely lying. So it was pretty good though.
I've got it on my must watch list, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, I put it on mine.
Yeah.
I'm watching something right now called Longmire because apparently everybody in the country has seen it, but me,
That was
I'm now on-
Yeah, you're late.
good.
I know,
Yeah,
but
you're late,
it's,
brother.
don't you tell me what the outcome is. I'll hunt you down
Oh, it was
Because-
Nah, I
so
ain't gonna tell
good.
you.
because it has been so far intriguing. And the problem is, I finally told my wife last night, I said, I've figured out what I got to do to keep from binge watching this thing. I'm going to back time it. So when it gets to 10 minutes before the end of this particular episode, I'm going to turn the TV off and I'll pick it up where at 10 minutes to the end of the episode tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
That way I don't get hooked to what's going to be happening
Oh,
next and have to watch another hour and 4 minutes or whatever.
Yes, I watch it. I like.
So I
that
shut it
one.
off last
All
night
the
at
good ones
12:30.
just end.
So anyway, I'm anxious to continue watching it. I'm season 4, I think it is. So I think there are 5 or 6 seasons. But I like to watch them like that when they're all there, so I don't have to wait for an episode that's continued next week. I can't remember that long ago. Come on, you know what,
Anyway.
you people who do that are committing senior abuse, and I'm going to file a suit
Okay.
if I can find a
Yeah, I
lawyer who
think-
can
I think at my
remember what I
age-
said.
I think at my age, I feel the same way. So,
Oh, you're a child.
just you
Give me
guys.
a break.
yeah, it's nice.
You
I
just
got,
you
I got boots older than you are, Mike.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I appreciate the call, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
No, you be
Well,
safe
take
out there. Bye. 910-333-0139. 2 great callers so far. Monday morning, especially. 910-333-0139.
Yeah, I like. It's so interesting hearing both sides of
Yeah.
the spectrum.
What do you think about building a house on the beach, out on the the Strand area? What do you think about taking your life into your own hands? and
Not
your
after watching another one fall into the ocean this weekend.
second home on the Outer Banks
Mhm.
collapsed into the ocean Friday. It's the second home in Rodanth is it Rodanth or Rodanthe? I hear it both ways.
I've always heard it Rodanthe, but
Yeah, me too.
what do I know?
I don't go the R word.
Right.
To gave way a strong surf attacked the region. It's the 3rd home in that community to give way this year, the 8th since
Mhm.
2020.
There's several more getting. There's
it's
one in
right
particular.
beside it that got damaged
Right.
because as this one was coming down.
Right.
Ooh, if you're planning a trip to the region, take heed. The Cape Hatteras National Seashore is urging y'all to avoid the beach and stay out of the water near the north end of Rodanthe
Yes.
and potentially even for many miles to the south. In addition to that, it's monitoring an adjacent house that sustained damage because of the house that collapsed. Dangerous debris. This goes for y'all around this neck of the woods too. After a tropical storm, after a hurricane, anything that tears up anything,
Mhm.
upriver, in the ocean, stuff will be in the waters. Stuff will be on the beaches. Stuff from destroyed buildings, debris, wood, nails.
Yes.
That stuff has nails in it.
Septic tanks are coming up too.
Well,
Yeah, I have a friend, Rick
I know what
Shafton.
kind of stuff that has in it.
Yes, I have a friend, Rick Shafton. He's on Facebook
Mhm.
and he does a lot of public videos, but he's been videotaping every day and night out there.
Yeah.
You know, before, after, one in the ocean. So that's where I've been watching and
Yeah.
getting all my information
But
from.
would you build out there now anywhere on the strands?
No.
Y'all, if you want some good reading sometime, just pick it up. Back in the 90s, I guess it was, Dr. Orrin Pilkey, Duke University. He wrote a book called The Dynamic Zone. I'm sure you can find it online. You can do whatever, but pick that book up at your
Yes.
leisure and read it. It's about our local area too, some of our local area. Good morning, Steve-O. How was your weekend? How was the borough?
Oh, it was wonderful, actually. I had a really good turnout. I was surprised.
Good.
Why?
Very good.
You think people don't like you? They don't show up to hear your music because they hear you on the radio? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you took off and ran before I ever played the first note there one night. So
I didn't want to get hooked into
I
being there for that. I
promise.
think no, that was
I would say hello, and you were like, "That's enough for me. I'm out of here."
well. You didn't. You didn't. If you had your guitar at the time and you had strummed a couple of things and said "Hello, Dolly" or whatever, try that next time.
What?
But yeah,
Say hello.
pretty good.
Sing the song "Hello, Dolly." Okay.
Yeah, that's going. That's a musical.
You might not want to say no more than that. You get flagged.
Yeah. You
And we're
would.
going to fix that very soon too. So.
Yeah.
All right. What's in your mind this morning?
I was gonna say I was listening to the new caller that called in, and man, he sure can articulate a lot in a short amount of time. I wish I was that, well spoken.
Yeah.
Well, if you want.
It's hard to keep up with all of it. He goes so fast sometimes.
Well, Steve-O, boy, let me explain to you why you can't. Because you one of us boys from the South. You're born in the South, where
Right.
everything is slow. We talk slow.
That was the other thing I noticed is that he said he only come across 2 people that have used the N word, and I think that's a regional thing. for him.
No. He's never listened to a rap song, has he?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
in different parts of the country,
Mhm.
but that was the other thing I noticed. And between him and Mike, talking about Kamala Harris's parents and how much money they made and stuff. I
I
think
don't
people get
know.
lost in the weeds talking about some things and they miss the obvious. And Mike kind of touched on it for a second. And they worked at Stanford. They make really good money. That's not, you can't dispute
Neither
that.
here nor there, yes.
Right, but that is irrelevant. It's you look at the facts we know about how they live their lives. And even though they had the money to send their kids to private school, they made them go to public school. They made them ride the bus. They made them get a job.
Oh,
when
my
they got
God, my
old enough,
parents
not
did
a
too.
job. Right, and so what that tells me is that she was raised by some people who were trying to instill, good moral values and keep their children grounded, not trying to spoil them,
Okay.
not trying to live an extravagant lifestyle.
Steve, you followed it a lot closer. Did she ever claim that she grew up in poverty?
I've never heard her say that, not even
Okay.
once.
I
Everything
never
she's
heard
ever
it.
made is that she comes from a middle class family. Now
That's
that could be
what I
somebody
heard.
who lives in a
Mhm.
2-story, 6-bedroom brick house.
Well, in California,
with
middle
a
class
four-car
was
garage.
in California, middle class was a lot differently than the middle class would have been in North Carolina. I'm just sorry. I know what the salary differences are.
Right. Yeah, the median incomes was way different. But that's what I'm saying is that they're trying to make out like, or somebody somewhere along the line is trying to make out like she said she was on food stamps and living in poverty, and she ain't never said nothing like that.
I don't
The
know.
closest thing that I've ever heard was when she said that she was part of the busing program, which she was. And
So was I. I drove one.
right. But like I say, those are the facts. I ain't trying to say that makes her a good person or a bad person. But they, if all they got to go on is something they have to invent, that they have to make up, then that says that they don't really have much to criticize her for.
Okay.
And honestly, I can find better criticisms than that of her.
Well, I can too.
So
I don't even like her laugh.
right. And that's pretty, trivial. I don't really like anybody. I don't even like my own laugh.
Yeah, me either. I don't like mine.
I like that people laugh, but they all sound weird.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
we all do.
It's like almost like a fingerprint.
It's
Everybody's different.
sometimes what I don't like are people with nervous laughs, though. You know, if they're laughing because they're trying to, they're too uptight to do. I mean, I've done that, to be honest with you. I've been in situations where I was uncomfortable and listening to some of the comments and the jokes and everything else that were being said that I like. I had a boss one time. I had a boss that he would tell these jokes. He would wait for me to come in. He'd call me in. We'd talk about stuff. And he'd tell me this really off-color joke, which made me extremely uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. But I would, and do my best to get out of there. You have many times back in the good old day that I faked a pager call when we had pagers? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, baby. I faked a lot. I faked many a pager call.
Well, now that you can put your phone on silent and just, I got to take this call.
Oh, yeah, I've done that
Right on
too.
there.
But anyway,
there.
sorry. I didn't mean to. You understand?
Another thing I wanted to speak about is have you heard about Georgia? The governor signing the law.
Yes.
He wants all the ballots hand counted.
No,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
No,
You-
what it is, Rayford, is they'll go through the machines as normal.
Uh-huh.
And, at the end of the day, the machines count the ballots.
Right.
And what they'll do is they'll go back and hand count the ballots to make sure they match what the machine says. It's just a number thing.
You mean the total number of ballots?
That's right. Which
Okay.
is going to take all night to do
Oh, my
and
God.
delay Georgia.
No, they cannot.
But-
They got to take the machine count. They should have to take.
Well,
the
see,
machine
now
count.
I know the local board of elections, they take the machine count, but when they go back to audit to certify the count,
Yeah, that's by
they'll
Thursday.
pick a precinct or something like
Right,
that, and they
sure.
say, okay, we had a total of 898 ballots,
And then
and
they-
they'll count those to make sure the paper number of ballots read the
They're
same
double
thing.
checking the machines.
That's right,
what
and
you
that's
said.
what Georgia's doing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't got no
My
problem with that.
understanding is they have to physically count every single ballot in
But
Georgia.
every
this time.
single precinct and every single
Somebody gonna have to
ballot
get
in
paid some
Georgia.
overtime.
just Atlanta alone. It's going to be a logistical nightmare. They've got 4 weeks to hire people now to
Joe.
count those ballots and train them.
Steve, I go through. Honestly, I hate to admit it. I go through, and when I've got a bunch of stuff to, if I'm counting my change and the pennies to go into a roll, like I have done, I count them twice.
Right.
And I count them a third time if the second time does not agree with the first time. You ever do that?
I agree, but there's not laws that stipulate deadlines for when you have to have those pennies counted by.
I understand, but I mean, that's the way I do things because I get uptight about when I'm counting something. I want to be exactly right.
And I understand the point that you're making, but there's logistical issues that come into play.
Measure twice and cut once.
if you're getting ready to leave to go to the bank and you only got 15 minutes to count them, you might not count them 3 times.
Well, that's what the
You might
bank's
have-
for
you
because they
might
got a
have to be
machine.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You might have to be satisfied with letting the machine count them when you get to the bank.
Actually, my wife gave me many years ago, gave me one of those coin counting devices that you put a whole bunch of coins in and it goes around and counts whichever, and it rolls them up at the same time. For the first period of time there, I'd take samples of those and I'd count them to be sure the machine was right.
It's gonna delay the votes.
I've done it too.
It'll be Wednesday morning
Gotcha.
before we know.
What? Not for the same week.
It's gonna take them all night. That's
Anyway, guys, that's the 2 things I wanted to talk
Okay.
about. I don't want to tie the lines up too long. I want to let somebody else call if they'd like to.
Yeah,
So,
appreciate
but
it.
that was 2 points I wanted to make today. It don't matter
Yeah.
how much money your parents made. They live like middle class.
Yeah, I don't
you know,
consider that one.
Georgia's got a lot of votes to count.
Right.
Well, maybe we can get us a job down there counting votes.
I imagine somebody's going to have to do it.
You got a
Yeah.
camper? We can pull a camper down there so we can, live off the state of Georgia for a couple of days.
I think what they've done is they just threw a monkey wrench into the works. It's going to cause a lot of chaos and a lot of people trying to say that their count ain't valid.
I think what they're trying to say. I
I
think what they're trying to say, all eyes are on Georgia. Trump's eyes are on Georgia, and he's going to be screaming and hollering in case he doesn't win Georgia. That's
Well,
what they're
and
saying.
I'll tell you what bothers me is that all these states are changing their election laws based on election fraud that never happened.
I
So
know
we're
that they're
creating
changing
chaos where there was none.
I agree they're changing their. I'm going to say I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to say that they're doing it because they want to make sure there's going to be no election fraud as has been claimed in the past.
Yeah.
Not that
that's-
it's, not that there's
kinda
never been
it's
any.
kind of like saying, right, but it's like saying you want to put an iron dome over your house because you don't want it to get robbed, and nobody in your whole neighborhood's ever been robbed. You
Well,
know,
I would rather take preventative action before I got robbed. But an iron dome ain't going to be the one.
but my point is that our election did have integrity. It did. All our systems did function as they were supposed to. It's the misinformation that there was fraud in our election that has spawned all this talk about we need to beef up our security.
I'm not going
Our
to say,
security was fine.
and y'all got to understand, there was no fraud committed that would have made any difference if it had been
Right.
anything else. Was there fraud committed? Absolutely. We got it on tape. We saw it. We saw the interviews with people. One woman, particularly in Chicago, I think it was Milwaukee or Chicago, she voted 7
Yeah.
times for her relatives because they couldn't get to the polls. She
Mhm.
took their absentee, or she took their ballots and went to the polls, in fact, and voted in different precincts using their
Right.
names.
Right.
So we do know
But that
that
would-
fraud occurs.
Right.
Was there enough
But-
fraud to make a difference in the outcome of the 2020 election? No. Okay, that's all I'll say.
And right, and it wasn't even close to being enough fraud to
No,
make a
I'm
difference.
just
It wasn't
saying.
even a fraction, right?
That-
So I mean, there was no comparison there. The amount of fraud that you're talking about, even the lady like you're talking about,
Yeah.
they would have had to been thousands of people like her that did that and
and-
not got caught.
Well, it would have been more than thousands. It would, I mean, there had to be 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 would have been. Let me see if I can do the math on that. 7 times 10,000 is 70,000, which is,
Right.
is it doesn't even come
Well,
up
I
to the
mean,
scale. So
In
anyway,
Georgia,
yes.
you were talking about in Georgia, it was 12,000 votes. So you're talking about 1,000 to 1,500 people like her having to do that and not get caught.
I'm
Yeah,
just,
so I mean that's
I'm just saying.
and you can cite one person in one place, so it wasn't even close to the amount of fraud it would take to change even one precinct.
I just will not say there's no fraud because there's always fraud.
Right, but there was no fraud that reached anywhere even close to the level of the
That's the
accusation.
qualification we always need to make.
Right.
Because somebody's going to
Anyway,
come up and
thank
say
you, guys. I know I
that,
keep
yada,
talking.
yada. All
I'm
right.
gonna go.
Have a good one, Steve.
Y'all have a
See you.
blessed
Goodbye.
day. Bye.
You too.
Marine Forecast brought to you by Community Prevention Services of Jacksonville. Prevention, key word in Community Prevention Services. The idea is to make sure that any issues you're experiencing do not blow into something that's life-changing. You might think that the PTSD, the anxiety or depression you're dealing with is awful. Honestly, yeah, it is. It probably is. What you want to do is to make sure it does not get to a point that you can't deal with it. And by deal with it, I don't mean going out and loading up on some medication, drugs, or alcohol. That's not where you need to be. Trying to cover up the confusion, the pain, the paranoia, yeah, all of that is real. And the best way to deal with it is direct confrontation. Hit it head on. The problem, finding someone who can actually help you without judging you. Family, even your closest friend from high school days, may not understand what's troubling you. Even if your best friend has gone through the same trials, not everyone is wired the same. Some people react differently to the same thing that you're experiencing, and it might not bother me. Pretty good bet that even with your issues, folks with their problems that you don't get bothered by.
Sure.
Why not reach out to a professional? A counselor that is right around the corner here in Jacksonville. No trips to Wilmington, Asheville, or Chapel Hill. Locally owned, locally operated. Community Prevention Services is at 918 Henderson Drive. Counselors there actually care about you. You're a whole lot more better than just a number.
A whole lot more.
A whole lot more better than just being a number.
That's right.
give them a call, set up a time to talk. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. 910-353-0972. That's 910-353-0972. Offshore today, let's go fishing. Not a bad day to start the work week. Northeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet, 2-foot waves from the east, 4 seconds apart. Little choppy, little dicey perhaps in the inlet. As long as you got a decent boat and you're a good captain, you're okay. Mixing it up, the 2-foot waves from the northeast every 10 seconds. Sounds and rivers a moderate chop. Tuesday and Wednesday, identical. Easterly winds 5 to 10 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet. Sounds and rivers a light chop.
And today it will be mostly sunny with a high near 83. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. Tuesday, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, partly sunny with a high near 82. And Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 85. Loving the weather.
Yeah.
Love
Fall
it.
time.
Even the grass
We
has
got-
slowed
They
down.
got the door open over here, wide
Yes.
open. There's no breeze. No wind coming in, just a light breeze, festered by the fan in the doorway.
Growing of the grass has slowed.
Sirens are not going off. The grass is slow. We're in the south. The grass slow in the winter. Up north, this time of year, grass dies. Here, it just slows down.
I have mowed in the winter before.
I'm sure you have. I'm the leaves in the winter.
Well, I'm at least, but there's been times where we've just had a really warm winter, and
This
the
one's
grass
for
is-
Charlie.
Go ahead.
Charlie up there in Diana.
And Diana.
A sad and scary story coming out of that state. Police have identified the mother and her 3 daughters
Oh no!
who were found dead in their home last Tuesday. The mother is 32, the daughters 5, 6, and 8. The cause of death and all other details are under investigation and are not being released. Detectives say there is no threat to the community. Okay.
Yeah, I know what that sounds like to me.
Pretty sure I know
Mhm.
what happened, which makes it even more disturbing.
Sad.
If you're aware of disturbing things about family members, your friends, your neighbors, don't wait until it's too late.
That's right.
Say something. Offer assistance if necessary. Do something.
You know, that brings to mind, I mean, I know that sometimes people get offended if someone else says or sparks some concern over their family situation or their actions or whatever. And I know that sometimes people can get offended by that.
And sometimes people can get over aggressive, over obnoxious.
Yes.
Hey, I'm holier than thou. I know better. So
Right.
you've got to be careful in the way you approach a situation.
Exactly. But Rayford, if you knew somebody and then you saw things starting to occur
Yep.
and it made you worry
get
about the
involved.
family situation, would you not get involved?
Absolutely. I'd do what I could and do the ultimate if I had to.
Right.
But I would do what I could to begin with.
Because if you didn't, what if it was that one time that you thought, it's not my business, let me stay out of it, and
Yeah.
something tragic
Pull
happened?
the blinds.
That's right.
And then what are you going to do? Oh God, I wish I had. I wish I
had.
I should
right.
have. I should have. I knew this. How many
You
times?
saw the red
How many
flags.
times on TV after a tragic event do you see some TV reporter interviewing a neighbor, a relative, a friend, or what?
Yes.
I knew something like this was going to happen.
Mhm.
All the signs were there. So what did you do about it?
Call a
I should have.
family
I knew this. I should have, but I was afraid. I was afraid that he wouldn't or she wouldn't like me.
Right,
Well,
right.
They don't like you now, do they?
Hey, we've got training exercises with NATO allies today on the base here at our Marine Corps base.
Yay.
So we may be hearing a little bit of boom boom. So,
Well, I hear boom booms all the time.
but personnel from France, Finland, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the United Kingdom will participate in the exercise today.
Oh, we better watch out for those guys from the United Kingdom. They're here to try to take over the United States. It's colony.
Maybe
one of
we
its
can get some of them.
colonies.
Come on and do
A British accent.
Oh, I would like that.
Oh yeah, but you know,
Right before
we-
Fox News.
we could call Senator tell us again, see how he would like them. A 12-year-old boy has shot and wounded a black bear the other day,
Ooh,
then ended up killing him.
let's not talk about bears. I'm going to the mountains this weekend.
Oh, goody, goody.
Let's not talk
The
about
bear
bears.
he wounded attacked his father. Okay, here's what occurred. 43-year-old Ryan Bierman said that he was pinned beneath the 200-pound bear back in September 6th when his son, Owen, 12 years of age, fired a shot from his own hunting rifle. Bierman suffered bites to his forehead, arm, and leg, called his son a hero. Got to agree with that one.
Right.
Here's where it started earlier. He and Owen spotted the bear from a tree stand. They were hunting near Cyrene, I don't know what it is, Wisconsin, about 90 miles northeast of Minneapolis. The son, Owen, he opened fire, fired one shot, wounded the bear. The bear ran into the woods. That's what bears do. The father and son waited about 20 minutes. It's a smart thing to do. Then they got down from the tree stand. Then they went looking for the bear. They had their neighbor's tracking dog out there with them and sicked him on the scent.
Whew.
Then they went through the thicket. That's where bears like to go to. They like to hide in the thickets.
Oh, yes.
They got kind of hung up in the thicket. They heard the dog yelp, and then that dog was hauling butt coming in the opposite direction, going away from them. The dog had said,
Smart dog.
I got no fight, no dog in this fight, and I'm not going to be the dog in this fight.
Mm-mm.
The bear charged from about 6 feet away. You're in a thicket. Those bears can hide. You can't see 6 feet in front of you. Wrong place to be, Bubba.
Why are you in the woods looking for a bear?
Because they had wounded him. They didn't want to leave a wounded bear in the woods.
Well,
Behrman, the dad, said he fired
Still.
8 rounds from his handgun. Apparently missed all times. I'm going to guess it was not a revolver. I'm going to guess it was a semi-automatic, probably a stupid 9mm. You don't
Right.
carry a small caliber handgun, even as a backup when you're hunting bear. Or bear hunting.
No.
The bear got on top of him, the wounded bear. And Bierman said he was trying to beat the bear with this pistol. He kept beating him in the head and the ears, and the bear was biting him. 12-year-old Owen fired one more round.
Uh-oh.
The bear was killed.
Wow.
Dad had to push the 200-pound bear off of the top of him. The game warden said it was a legal hunt.
It was legal?
It was legal, was okay for them to be hunting bear.
Now, what state was this?
Wisconsin.
That's what I thought you said. Okay.
The bear season was in.
Do we have a bear season here in North Carolina?
Yeah, we do. Generally used to start at mid-October along with deer season, but I don't know what it does anymore. Starts in two different. Well, we got an east season and we got a west season in North Carolina. I'm not a hunter, so I don't even
I'm
look at
looking
it.
up.
I get all that stuff,
People
but I don't
actually
look at it.
hunt for bears.
Yeah, that's a big deal. They get their dogs and they tree the bear and they shoot the bear in the tree and they hope the bear falls down dead.
Mm. Black bear hunting season in North Carolina generally runs from October 12th to November 16th, except for Western North Carolina, where
Oh,
it starts October 1st. Good. I'll be up and out before bear season hunting.
That doesn't
starts.
mean the bear are not there. They don't wait to come out
Why?
just because they're in season.
I
I did something stupid on a trip in the early fall with another friend of mine, my dive buddy, in fact. We went up there, and on the way back, of course, I got my big old Hasselblad. I think I probably had a 150 millimeter lens on it, my camera. And this bear lollops across the road in front of us. I said, stop. I jumped out and I headed into the woods right behind him. Never did get another sight of him. Didn't get a shot at him either. And then I got back in the truck and he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Your gun was in here." I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "What if that sucker turned on you?" I said, "Good point.
Yeah.
Won't do that again."
Yeah.
I mean, you and the bear can generally
I
win.
thought about that though. I wonder if there's going to be bears, and I'm sure there's bears in the mountains.
Yes, that's
I'm
what
going
I
to make
was.
sure my dog.
There are
out, he's
bears
on the
around
leash.
here.
Well, yes, yes.
There are bears everywhere.
I've seen one killed on the highway one time.
Oh, God. The game warden said it was legal, but the bear didn't have a hunting license. President Biden became confused and lost track of events during a press conference alongside India's prime minister Saturday.
That's why he's not running.
The incident came when Biden was supposed to introduce Prince Minister Narendra Modi in Wilmington, Delaware. He instead became confused and appeared to think he was waiting for a question from reporters. An announcer then introduces Modi following an uncomfortable pause. I want to thank you all for being here, Biden said. Now, who am I introducing next?
Oh.
Who's next? He shouts, leading to several seconds of silence. The announcer then cuts in to reintroduce Modi, who approaches Biden and shakes his hand. The interaction came just one day after Biden received heavy criticism for allowing First Lady Jill Biden to run a cabinet meeting on Friday. Biden convened his cabinet for the first time since October 2nd, 2023, and the First Lady joined him to speak about the White House initiative on women's health research. The interaction came just one day after Biden received heavy criticism for allowing First Lady Jill Biden to run a cabinet meeting on Friday. Biden convened his cabinet for the first time. About that, he explained that Jill Biden's presence there. He said, here and across previous administrations, first ladies have attended these meetings for specific reasons. This is the first time Jill has joined us, and it goes to show how important the issue is, which she is about to speak to. According to the New York Post, fact-checking the thing, the last sitting first lady to attend her husband's cabinet meeting was Hillary Clinton. Regardless of who wins this election in November, the vice president needs to take over the daily duties in lieu of Biden's obvious absence. The day after the election, the vice president needs to assume all the duties of the presidency. I did not say evoking the 25th Amendment. She just needs to take over whatever's on his calendar. It's unfair to him and dangerous for this nation to be without a leader during these upcoming, increasingly concerning months.
Wow.
It's sad. Sad. The legacy of Joe Biden, I don't know who's going to write it. How's that going to go in the future? We just all going to just sit around and say we feel sorry for him. He was a good man until. He was a great man until. Boy, he served this country well until.
Bless him.
Hate it for him. I hate it for the family, but it's their fault, and the Democrat National Committee is the primary ones who are at fault for this situation. They knew better.
He's
They
how
knew
old
better.
now? He's what, 82 now? How old is he now?
Age matters not. This
I
was
just
coming
gonna
on.
say-
This was coming on back when he was running the first time around.
Subtract 4 years from that.
Yeah, 78.
Yes.
Biden's Trump's age.
Right.
Venezuelan migrants moving into Chicago's South Side caught the attention of the city's gangs. Some fearing an impending turf war between local gangs and their Venezuelan counterparts. Tyrone Muhammad, a former Chicago gangster who did 20 years in prison and now runs a violence prevention program, told reporters, when the black gangs here get fed up with the illegalities and criminal activities of these migrants, non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in flames, and there will be nothing the National Guard or the government can do about it when the bloodshed hits the streets. It'll be blacks against migrants.
My goodness.
I'm having to agree with him.
Right.
It is not going to be very pretty. I hate it. I hate it. So, but it is what it is. We'll have to see. Got a caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
This is Jennifer.
Well, hello,
Jennifer
Jennifer.
from Tennessee.
Yeah, Jennifer. That was, I grew up in the lower end of the middle class neighborhood,
Uh-huh.
and the children of the community were
Gotcha.
the children of the community. I was getting ready to get Terry up, and I heard what you just said about Joe Biden and about, and I agree completely. I mean, I blame Jill and I blame the Democrats for not taking him out.
Yep.
But what the American people, and I'm a registered independent, so I'm not putting plugs in for nobody, but what the people need to sit back and just ponder on is the Democrats, they've known as long as the American people have known, from seeing him in his on TV, in the news and stuff like that. They've probably known longer that he was not capable of doing the job. Now, my thought on that is if the vice president, if Kamala Harris, if they truly had faith that she could run this country, then why did they not invoke the 25th and take Joe Biden out before?
Because
The reason they didn't is because they know that the lady they have running as their ticket for the president of the United States does not know her butt from third base. As far as that, they know, and that's why they didn't. And Joe Biden, he's the one. He said, "Okay, you going to take me out? I'm going to put Jill. I'm going to put Harris in there. I'm going to go ahead and endorse her." And it's sad. It is sad to think that this is what our country, that has always been looked up to by all these other countries, has become.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's just my thought. I think Jill Biden is the absolute worst person in the world for allowing her husband to be paraded in the condition that he is.
and
I'm sorry.
coming from you, a spouse, with a situation,
Mm-hmm.
you have more right to speak as you just did. Other person that I know. I know there are
Okay.
others in the same boat, but I don't know them. I know you.
Well, Terry, and in case anybody's listening that doesn't know, my husband had a stroke going on 8 years ago. He had a stroke that wiped out every bit of his balance. It has left him with all kinds of deficits that he did not have before.
And you're not going to let him climb a ladder and go on a roof, are you?
I am not. And if we are sitting there in front of a bunch of people, which Terry doesn't do whole big crowds real good.
Mhm.
He does them, but he picks and chooses where he says, "Yeah, we'll go to that." But he has tremor. If his hand starts shaking when he's trying to eat, I gently reach over and I put my hand on his arm and just still it, because a lot of times he doesn't even realize it. I don't want my husband to be embarrassed.
Yep.
His hand starts shaking, him trying to feed somebody. I pay attention to him and I step in and I take care of that. And for Jill Biden to put her husband out in front of everybody is despicable. I don't care how bad you wanted your picture on the cover of Vogue magazine. There's more important things than that. And her main priority should have been to her husband, who she vowed to love, honor, sickness and health, and everything else. She should have took care of him. And that's just how I feel about it. And the Democrats, if Kamala Harris, if they were confident that she was able to run this country, they would have already put her in as their as president. They would have already stepped her up if they were confident. And that is what the people of the America, that's what all the voters need to pay attention to. They need to stop and think, well, if she's that good, why didn't they put her in instead of the man that obviously has dementia?
Because
I mean,
I can give you the reasons, and in my opinion, everything I say is my opinion, and you know
Right.
what they're like. Anyway, in my personal opinion, they did not want to invoke the 25th Amendment for a couple of reasons. One is that would make her not the Democrats, it would make her look like, oh my God, I'm in here, I'm going to take him out so I can be president. I want him out of the picture so I can be president. Now, oh my God, you got basically a handicapped individual here. You're going to take him down because of that? You weren't elected, he was. So they could not do that. They could not afford to do that. The smartest move, and I still think the plan was that 2 years and 1 day into the Biden administration, that he was supposed to announce his resignation because of he wanted to be able to spend more time with his family, yada, 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 yada. Things weren't
he was
going well.
supposed to be a transitional president.
And I will
That's
give
what
her,
he
and
said.
that way she will have 2 years to work her way up to be the president, which is what they wanted when she was running in the primary in 2020. And then they said, well, wait a minute now. All this is going to do with her running is going to hurt Joe Biden. And we've got to have Joe Biden in there because he's got the name, because Kamala Harris could not have beaten Donald Trump in 2020. They knew it.
Yeah.
Joe Biden was a name. He had 40,000 years in the Senate. He was already he was well known throughout the country. Kamala Harris, who? Okay, people in California know her and they don't like her. Who?
Right.
Tell me somebody in
Exactly
Detroit
right.
who knew who Kamala Harris was. No, they didn't. But she put them in fear of taking away from Joe Biden in 2020. That's where it started. So they said, get out and we'll give you the vice presidency. Okay, I'll do that. And then in 2 years, we will make you president. But in the first 2 years, they saw that she didn't have the ability to be president.
That's right.
They knew it
exactly
then.
right.
But then Biden got stubborn. And he continued, he decided he was going to run for re-election this year.
Right.
That's what happened. And then what are you going to do now? You got a president. We cannot not make him run. He's got to make that decision. And he waited too long. If he had made that decision back last fall or last December,
He wouldn't have gotten the vote of the people.
he would not have been a problem. He would have been like, okay, he's going to not do it. Now we can open the field up if Kamala wants to run, if RFK wants to run, if Lee Barrows wants to run, whoever wants to run, if any of these Republicans want to run, okay, y'all duke it out. May the best person
Not happening.
win. And they can go up against the likely Republican nominee, which would have been Trump. But then it didn't happen that way. When Biden had to get out, there's Kamala. She had to be.
And see, the Democrats need to be thinking, and I say we, I'm not, but they should say to themselves, well, we weren't given the choice
That's right.
to vote as who we want to run for our president.
That's right. That's what, if I was a Democrat, that's what I'd be saying. If I was,
Exactly.
I would say, whoa.
I wouldn't have picked her.
Have they not figured out yet that you just got duped? That this was all a setup?
Right. You're exactly right.
Something that Charlie brought up on his phone call, and he asked you, Rayford, who did you think was the voice behind the president, the Democratic side? And I'm telling you right now, you've got a combination of Democrats like Hillary, Obama.
It's not one person.
It's not one person. You've got top staffers at the DNC. You've got high-ranking Democratic leaders in the Congress. That's who's running the country.
And they're
That's
being
who's running
supported
Joe.
by people that Donald Trump fired, got rid of. There are a lot of those individuals
You've also
who are like, okay, we don't want him to be president because we're disgruntled, so we're going to help the Democrats.
Right.
That's what's going
well,
on.
not only that, but you got top Hollywood elite also that are in that
They're going to
mix.
always be leaning towards the Democrat.
Right,
Okay,
you've
period.
got them that
Exactly.
are putting in their 2 cents worth, and
So they can get
because
publicity.
well, that's why I think the Democrats can get the money from them. It's where they get a lot of their fundraisers.
Yep, you're exactly right. Well, that was just my 2 cents this morning.
Well,
I just
you got
wanted to.
You got at least $1 worth in this morning.
I just wanted to put that out there. That's just exactly how I feel about it. So
Yeah.
y'all have
Okay.
a blessed day.
Now,
And we'll read from tomorrow.
you haven't found any of that Tennessee corn up there, have you? And you know what I'm talking about.
No, well, I do know that.
Medicinal purposes
Now-
only. Gotcha.
Now, are you talking about what you go in and purchase in a store, or what you get from Granny at out the barn? I mean,
Granny.
Don't tell the
there's
secrets now.
Granny.
We won't tell.
Y'all have a good day.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye bye.
And just for all those
Jennifer's like the
people
rest of us. We're crazy.
who don't take voting seriously, I just want you to know that our astronauts, our Starliner astronauts up there that are stranded, will be voting.
How are they
already-
going to get their ballots?
They've already requested their absentee ballots, and they
They're gonna
are
be faxed
sending them PDFs with clickable boxes,
Oh,
and
really?
everything is encrypted. So
I want somebody else to count them. I want to know who's going to count those ballots.
those 2 ballots.
Yes, I want a neutral party.
Well, they're going to go back.
How do we know they're going to be the ones that are going to be able
Don't
to
make
mail
this
it?
difficult. I mean, my gosh, at least they're voting.
Yep.
It's no reason for the rest of us not to get out and vote.
Early voting starts soon.
That's right. Ugh.
I'm going to vote before the election because just in case.
I already know what I'm doing.
Again, but I'm not going to vote now. Things could change. I mean, things have changed. Let's look at that was who I was going to vote for. But for a lot of people in North Carolina, what happened in the gubernatorial race?
That's
What
right.
happened to one of the candidates here?
That's
Is
right.
that who you really want? I'm not telling you one way or the other, but a lot
That's
of
right.
people are telling me that I can't do that. I can't do that. So
I'm considering a lot in.
if the early voting has started 3 weeks ago, look who
Yeah.
you would have been voting for.
That's right. That's right.
You don't want that person today, perhaps. So that can happen between now and November.
Well, once
I do
early
not-
voting
I'm
starts-
not encouraging you to wait until November. What is the date? The 5th or the 2nd? What? I don't know what it is this year.
I have to
Whatever.
look.
First Tuesday in November.
Right.
I'm not encouraging you to do that. But if you want to do that, that's fine too. But just in my case, I had an issue, so I couldn't do it then. I ain't going to make that
And
mistake again.
that's one
But
of
it will
those
be real
things.
close to the election day.
That's right.
And I'll also have an absentee ballot with me that I can put a stamp on, whatever happens.
Well, the
But
important thing
I like to
is
vote at the polls either
we
way.
have plenty of time for early voting, and it's going to
No
be very,
rush, no rush.
yeah, it's going to be important that people get out. and
Your
vote.
early
It should
start
be
to early voting
always.
this year is going to be a little bit later in North Carolina because I had to reprint all the ballots.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the
Dang
dates
it,
and
boy.
put them out there for us.
Dang
but,
it, boy.
yeah.
All right. We will see you tomorrow.
Sure.
Coming in tomorrow, we have.
Special guest from the Jacksonville Police Department.
Yeah, the police are going to be here to Popo.
Our
Oh, my.
favorite Sergeant Vanessa Smith,
Uh-huh. She's the only Sergeant Vanessa Smith they have, so she's got to
And
be our favorite.
Officer. I can't remember. Was it Guzman or Guzman? I think
Yes.
it was Guzman.
You go with Guzman, I'm going to go with Guzman.
It was his first name that
One of us will be right.
we learned it, and I can't remember.
You know what his
it
name
was
is?
now. Officer.
Sir.
Yeah, officer, sir. They're coming in to talk about something special. they
Well, I
have
got something
coming.
special I want her to do.
It's something to do with her husband and something to do with fishing. We all
Well,
know.
yes, he needs to take us all fishing one day. You know, the
Yeah.
live and local team put us out there on the
Doesn't
water.
he
and
do
s-
it like, isn't he
He's
captain? of-
he's a charter captain. He needs to take us all fishing one day.
Oh, that would be
We'll
great.
talk good about him,
Yes.
unless we don't catch any fish.
Right.
Wonder if he cleans the fish when I catch them.
Right. Right. Oh, just a special
clean
shout
mine.
out to our friend Caroline that was at the reunion Friday and Saturday night. She says she watches our show every day
Oh,
from
yeah.
Florida.
That's good.
So, hey, Caroline.
We got several people from Florida watching this too. So
Yes.
we'll see.
Yes. True.
All right. We'll take a break. 22 hours. We'll be back. You're live and local. Real talk. North Carolina from the studios of Live and Local.
That's right.
See you
Here we
tomorrow.
are.
Have a great day.